Hi everyone! If we're looking at some studies, we find that nearly 70% of customers admit that page speed impacts their willingness to buy from an online retailer. We also find that 47% of customers expect a web page to load in 2 seconds or less, and if that doesn't happen, with each additional second of load time, the website conversion rates drop by an average of 4.42%. This was one of our motivations for creating this micro-frontend that's also easily integrated in any storefront, but for today we're going to focus on the integration with Franklin. On this demo, I will showcase how the content and the commerce teams have united their forces to create an implementation for the product detail page use case. There are 3 parts which I want to briefly present before showing how we've combined all of these to produce a fast experience. The first one is the catalog service, which has its root on the idea of reducing the dependency on the current monolith architecture. This is a SaaS solution that provides read-only catalog data to power the storefront shopping experiences, one of which being the subject of this demo, the product detail page. This service is consumable via GraphQL APIs, and during our testing we have seen up to 10 times faster data retrieval. That means that on a merchant's website, all flows that require catalog data could be displayed much faster, and this would overall improve the customer experience and the conversion rates. The second part that I want to present to you is the Storefront SDK, created initially by our Storefront core team. This SDK provides a starting point and an architecture view for any micro-frontend that we want to develop. It is built with Preact, and it can be bundled into a single JavaScript file that can be used in any site. This is achieved by having an ES module and by leveraging the API bundles, which consist on values, actions, and on actions. The values expose properties from the micro-frontend as observables. The actions are methods that the host site can use to interact with the micro-frontend. The on actions are callback functions for the micro-frontend to interact with the host site. The PDP micro-frontend is created using the same architecture ideas, and on top of that we've decided to prove the capabilities on a Franklin storefront. This brings me to the third point that I wanted to talk about, Project Franklin, which is a future-looking version of AEM. It is a serverless and simple to author experience. As stated, Franklin lets business users ingest and publish Markdown documents and spreadsheets from Microsoft Office or Google Docs or Sheets, and dynamically renders HTML to produce fast websites. This is a sample storefront built with Franklin that also integrates the PDP micro-frontend. The concepts that I've just presented are applied on this implementation to form a product detail page. The data used to render this page comes from the catalog service. The PDP micro-frontend uses the same SDK architecture, and what you can see is powered by Franklin. Here you can see the structure of the monorepo. This encompasses each micro-frontend as a separate package, and then the tooling needed as another package. I will not insist on the packages with the core suffix, since these will be merged at some point. Essentially, the core package is where all the common components that could be used by any micro-frontend reside. For example, if I go to the storybook, we can see that we have components like swatch, swatch group, text swatch group, elements like button, form, quantity stepper, or even more complex elements like cart item or cart list. The catalog PDP package is correspondent to our PDP block or container, and this is where we create all the logic for the detail page, which contains the context that we use across the container or the API calls needed. On this file, for example, you can see the methods that we had to create for data retrieval or data refinement, but also the values and on actions that will be used on the host site. These are based on the SDK core library implementation and follow the same pattern that I've previously mentioned. However, what you can see here cannot be possible without the content and the rules that Franklin is based on in terms of architecture. As you've already seen, in order to set up a Franklin storefront, you need to have a drive for all your content files. In our case, for the PDP page, we had to create a separate document that is named product page MFE, which also results in a page URL that contains this name. So for us, it's going to be /product page MFE. In this document, we need to have a block which is represented by a table. The first row of this table gives the block name, and with some magic, the proper JavaScript files and CSS is loaded. As you can see in the documentation as well, most of the project-specific CSS and JavaScript code lives in blocks. Authors create blocks in their documents and developers write the corresponding code. In our case, we had to import the microfrontend provided files, which then let us render the PDP and also listen or interact with the values coming from the microfrontend. So now let's say that the host site needs to keep track of the quantity selected. In the microfrontend, all we have to do is create such a value and then update it based on logic. The same happens for the onAddToCart method. From the microfrontend, I can create this and then I need to make sure that I dispatch the proper data to the host site. The only thing left to do is to register to this action or subscribe to this value in the Franklin project. And now once I update the quantity in the quantity stepper here, I can see that this value is being reflected on Franklin. This also happens for the add to cart. If this is triggered, then an object is dispatched from the microfrontend to be captured in the Franklin website. What's great about this demo is that it shows we're part of a bigger picture that focuses on fast development and user experience at the same time. The teams are working together on defining a design system and a tooling system, this ensuring that any microfrontend will have a consistent development process and also a consistent look and feel. With the whole storefront agnostic idea in mind, the clients could easily create their storefronts using multiple microfrontends and leveraging API patterns for the communication between them. The integration with Franklin proves the above and also focuses on the power that this new looking version of AEM brings.